You think you know pirate ships, but what if I told you that the ships you've imagined from movies and legends barely scratch the surface of reality? Across the globe, pirate vessels were as diverse as the oceans they sailed, shaped not only by the skills of their crews, but by the cultures, climates, and the very waters they roamed. Some were tiny and lightning fast, able to slip through narrow channels like shadows. Others were colossal, floating fortresses bristling with cannons, intimidating even the mightiest naval fleets. You are about to uncover 5 surprising differences in pirate ships that will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about the high seas. And if you enjoy journeys like this, make sure to hit subscribe and drop a like. It helps me bring even more stories from the past to life. Imagine the Caribbean in the golden age of piracy. Sun glinting off turquoise waves, palm trees swaying, and ships weaving a deadly ballet of sails and cannons. The legendary Caribbean pirate ship, often a sleek sloop, was built for speed and agility. Its narrow hull cut through the water effortlessly, perfect for chasing merchant vessels or evading the Navy. Every plank, every rope, every sail was designed with a singular purpose: freedom and survival. Crew members often slept crammed together, not for comfort, but because space was a weapon. The more agile the ship, the quicker it could strike, and the harder it was to catch. But now shift your gaze to the Indian Ocean, where pirates operated along the coasts of modern-day Somalia, Oman, and India. Here, the dhows and grabs of pirate lore were almost unrecognizable to someone familiar only with Caribbean vessels. These ships were built for endurance rather than speed. The dhow, with its distinctive triangular sails, could endure weeks at sea under the scorching sun. Its shallow draft allowed it to approach hidden coves or river mouths that would swallow a heavier European sloop. Unlike the Caribbean ships, these vessels carried fewer cannons, but they had something more dangerous: knowledge of the tides, winds, and currents that only local sailors possessed. A European Navy ship might see them as fragile, but these pirates turned the environment itself into a weapon. Meanwhile, in the icy waters of the North Atlantic, pirate ships told yet another story. The notorious Scandinavian pirates and privateers relied on longships, designs that had evolved over centuries. They were sturdy, capable of withstanding icy waves, and could be rowed when winds died down. Imagine the cold sting of winter air, the creaking of wood under frost, and a crew fighting exhaustion while navigating near cliffs and fjords. These ships were not about flashy attacks or treasure chests. They were tools of survival, raiding and retreating in landscapes that were as unforgiving as any enemy. And the difference is clear. Pirate ships reflected not just strategy, but geography. Across the Pacific, the story changes once again. Southeast Asian pirates, often working in small fleets, favored junk ships with multiple masts and a flat bottom, ideal for shallow coastal waters. Junks were marvels of engineering, capable of carrying vast amounts of cargo while still remaining nimble enough to vanish among islands and reefs. Picture the scene: a dozen junks, sails catching the wind, weaving silently between islands as unsuspecting traders passed by. The flat hull allowed pirates to beach their ships on sandbanks, hiding them until the perfect moment to strike. These vessels weren't just ships. They were instruments of stealth, blending into the environment as much as they moved across it. Contrast that with the Mediterranean, where pirates like the Barbary corsairs ran complex operations from ports in modern-day Algeria, Tunisia, and Morocco. Their vessels, the xebecs and galleys, were slender, long, and powered by both sails and oars. In a sudden chase, dozens of oarsmen could propel the ship faster than a purely wind-powered vessel. Corsairs mastered the art of ambush, hugging coastlines and using sudden bursts of speed to strike and vanish. Unlike the solitary Caribbean pirates, these crews often operated as part of organized networks, combining tactics, intelligence, and brute force in ways that European navies struggled to counter. Notice a pattern yet? The differences aren't random. Climate, culture, commerce, and conflict all shaped the way pirates built their floating homes. Caribbean pirates prioritized speed for surprise and escape. Indian Ocean pirates leveraged local knowledge and endurance. Scandinavian raiders focused on survival against nature itself. Southeast Asian pirates perfected stealth and adaptability. And Mediterranean corsairs combined coordination with explosive speed. It's a mosaic that defies the one-size-fits-all pirate ship of popular imagination. Now, let's look closer at crew organization, because a ship is only as formidable as the people aboard it. On a Caribbean sloop, a crew of 20 might operate like a single organism, each member trained to handle sails, cannons, and navigation interchangeably. Orders were shouted, tasks executed, and every mistake could be fatal. On a Somali dhow, crews might be smaller, but every sailor was an expert in reading the sea, the winds, and the tides. Mistakes weren't just dangerous, they could mean weeks stranded without food or water. And on a long ship in the North Atlantic, teamwork was literally life or death. Rowers had to synchronize perfectly to maintain speed against the icy current. While scouts watched for rocks and enemy ships alike, crew structures weren't universal. They evolved alongside the ships themselves, tailored to the unique challenges of their waters. Weapons and armor added another layer of difference. Cannons, swords, and boarding axes were common across most pirate ships, but the scale and emphasis varied dramatically. Caribbean pirates boasted impressive broadside cannons designed to intimidate and destroy merchant vessels quickly. In the Indian Ocean, pirates might carry fewer cannons, but compensate with agility and ambush tactics. Mediterranean corsairs relied on both firepower and manpower, capable of ramming, boarding, and overwhelming opponents with coordinated attacks. Even the design of the ship itself could serve as a weaponer-reinforced prow to ram, elevated decks for shooting, or narrow hulls to evade larger vessels. Then there's the question of adaptability. Pirate ships had to survive not just enemies, but nature itself. Hurricanes in the Caribbean, monsoon storms in the Indian Ocean, icy gales in the North Atlantic, unpredictable tides in Southeast Asia, and sudden Mediterranean squalls all shaped ship design. Hulls were reinforced differently, sails cut and rigged in unique ways, and the choice of materials reflected local availability. A Caribbean sloop might capsize in the wrong storm, while a dhow or junk could ride out a monsoon without flipping. Pirate ships were more than raiders, they were survivors. And consider the psychology of the ship. A pirate crew knew their vessel intimately. It was a home, a prison, and a weapon. Caribbean pirates often tattooed their ships with symbols of fear, like the Jolly Roger, warning merchants to surrender. In the Mediterranean, colors and flags signaled alliances or threats to rival corsairs. Southeast Asian pirates often camouflaged their vessels among reeds and rocks, relying on concealment rather than intimidation. Each ship carried a message, a story, and a strategic intent encoded in its very structure. By now, the differences should be becoming clear. Yet what's most surprising is how much the pirate ship of legend actually obscures these truths. Movies and novels often present a uniform image, a black hold, cannon-laden skull and crossbones, flying ship cutting across endless blue seas. The reality was far more nuanced, fascinating, and adaptive. Pirates around the world responded to the same basic challenge: how to survive and thrive on the open sea. But their solutions were shaped by an astonishing variety of factors. Geography, climate, commerce, culture, and even superstition played roles in determining how these vessels were built and operated. Let's explore speed and maneuverability more closely. Because these were not mere technical details, they defined life and death on the high seas. Caribbean sloops, with their narrow hulls and towering masts, could outpace almost any merchant ship of the time. Every gust of wind became a potential advantage, every tack a calculated gamble. Imagine a sloop cutting through a turquoise wave, crew scrambling across slick decks, ready to unleash a volley of cannon fire or vanish around a hidden reef. The thrill, the danger, and the precision of those moments were the heartbeat of Caribbean piracy. Contrast this with the dhows of the Indian Ocean, gliding with elegance and endurance. They weren't built for short bursts of speed, but for patience and endurance, capable of weeks-long voyages. Pirates here understood that survival was a strategic game, that sometimes waiting, hiding, and striking at the perfect moment yielded more profit than a reckless chase. Knowledge of tides, winds, and currents became their secret weapon. A European navy might see them as frail, but these pirates mastered an almost mystical symbiosis with the sea. In the North Atlantic, longships were both resilient and versatile. Their strength lay not in surprise attacks, but in adaptability. Storms, ice, and unpredictable currents demanded that crews be ready to row, tack, or even beach their vessel at a moment's notice. The psychological toll was immense. Cold, exhaustion, and isolation were constant companions. Yet these pirates thrived in environments that would crush the unprepared, proving that survival itself can be a form of dominance. Southeast Asian junks were the ultimate demonstration of stealth and deception. Flat-bottomed hulls allowed pirates to navigate shallow waters invisible to larger ships. Camouflage among reeds and mangroves turned the landscape into an ally. When attack time came, the junks moved as if emerging from nowhere, a sudden apparition of sails and speed. These ships demonstrated that intelligence, planning, and intimate knowledge of terrain could rival sheer firepower. The pirate ship was not just a vehicle, it was an extension of the pirate's mind. Mediterranean xebecs and galleys operated on a different principle: coordination and raw muscle. Oar power allowed bursts of speed unmatched by wind alone, enabling sudden attacks and rapid retreats. Pirates here were tactical strategists, often operating in flotillas, striking targets with precision, and retreating before navies could respond. Every oar, every sail, every cannon had a purpose in a choreography of attack that demanded discipline and timing. The difference is striking. Caribbean pirates relied on spontaneity, Indian Ocean pirates on cunning, North Atlantic raiders on endurance, Southeast Asian pirates on stealth, and Mediterranean corsairs on coordinated execution. Food, water, and supplies also dictated ship design and operational strategy. Caribbean pirates often carried limited provisions, relying on quick raids and nearby ports to resupply. Dhows and junks needed storage for extended voyages, incorporating large cargo holds for food, water, and trade goods. Longships were compact but efficient, optimized for short-term survival and rapid plunder. Corsair vessels balanced speed and storage, reflecting their dual needs of combat and commerce. Even seemingly minor design decisions, the placement of a storage hold, the size of a galley, the type of rigging were strategic choices shaped by culture, geography, and necessity. The concept of home on these ships is equally fascinating. Caribbean sloops were cramped, a hive of activity where crew members slept in hammocks or on the deck itself. Dhows offered small private areas, but the sea's rhythm dictated life. Sail, eat, sleep, repair. Long ships demanded coordinated rowing shifts, leaving little personal space. Junks incorporated areas for cargo and crew, but often required constant vigilance, blending living space with strategic positioning. Corsair vessels were a blend, reflecting both military discipline and merchant practicality. In every case, the ship was not just a vessel, it was a microcosm of life at sea. A floating ecosystem where every action had consequences. Even the art of boarding and combat varied wildly. Caribbean pirates used speed to close in, unleash cannon fire, and board with ferocious energy. Dhows relied on surprise and environmental advantage, striking quickly before vanishing. Longships used mobility and endurance, often relying on small groups for hit-and-run attacks. Junks combined stealth and sudden bursts of force, while corsairs executed coordinated strikes with multiple ships, turning the sea into a battlefield of strategy. Weapon placement, deck layout, and crew roles were adapted to each ship type. revealing a deep interconnection between design, environment, and human ingenuity. Interestingly, the way pirate ships were built also reflected economic realities. Caribbean pirates often repurposed captured merchant ships, modifying them for speed and firepower. Dhows and junks were built locally, using materials and techniques adapted to regional conditions. Longships were the result of centuries of evolution, with each generation improving on hull design, sail configuration, and rowing efficiency. Corsair vessels balanced local craftsmanship with innovations learned from encounters with European navies. Each ship tells a story not just of piracy, but of trade, technology, and adaptation across cultures. Culture influenced not only design, but also strategy and mentality. Caribbean pirates embodied a free-spirited, chaotic lifestyle, where reputation, fear, and the thrill of the chase mattered. Indian Ocean pirates merged commerce and piracy, balancing raids with trading opportunities. North Atlantic raiders faced brutal natural conditions, shaping a stoic, disciplined approach. Southeast Asian pirates integrated stealth and cunning into their culture, while Mediterranean corsairs reflected hierarchical, coordinated, almost militaristic values. Ships became mirrors of the societies they sailed for, carrying embedded philosophies, fears, and ambitions. By now, you might notice a subtle but crucial truth. Pirate ships were not just tools, they were storytellers. Each plank, sail, and rope whispered tales of survival, conquest, and ingenuity. Understanding their differences is not just an academic exercise. It's a journey into how humans adapt, innovate, and thrive under pressure. Geography, climate, culture, and necessity combine to create solutions so diverse that they challenge our imagination. The romantic image of the pirate ship is a simplified legend, a shadow of a far richer and more complex reality. Now, let's pull all these threads together and look at what these differences really mean. Pirate ships were far more than wooden hulls and sails. They were reflections of human ingenuity, adaptation, and resilience. Caribbean sloops showcased the raw thrill of freedom, speed, and audacity. Indian Ocean dhows embodied patience, mastery of the environment, and strategic cunning. North Atlantic longships told stories of endurance, survival, and teamwork under extreme conditions. Southeast Asian junks illustrated stealth, intelligence, and adaptability, while Mediterranean corsairs combined precision, coordination, and audacious tactics. Each type of ship was a living solution to a unique set of challenges. Think about the contrast between these ships and how we often imagine pirates today. Pop culture tends to flatten this diversity, presenting a single, iconic image: a black-hulled ship flying Ascaland crossbones. The reality was far richer, showing that piracy was not just about rebellion or treasure, was a continuous negotiation with the sea, with geography, and with human limits. Every design choice, every tactical decision, every cultural nuance influenced not only the effectiveness of the ship, but also the life of everyone on board. These were not vessels designed for aesthetics. They were optimized for survival, efficiency, and advantage in an unpredictable world. And yet, despite all these differences, there is a common thread: the ingenuity of humans responding to constraints. No matter the waters, the climate, or the enemies faced, pirate crews adapted. They learned to read winds, tides, and currents, to exploit local knowledge, to optimize their vessels for their specific context. They turned their ships into extensions of themselves, machines that amplified their skills, fears, and ambitions. The variations we've explored are lessons in creativity under pressure, in problem-solving with limited resources, and in understanding that one solution rarely fits all challenges. This reflection also gives us a deeper appreciation for the stories of pirates. They were not just adventurers or villains, they were masters of adaptation, often outsmarting more powerful opponents by leveraging knowledge, skill, and audacity. The ships they built and sailed are a testament to that mastery, each one a floating narrative of ingenuity, culture, and survival. from the Caribbean to the Mediterranean, from the Indian Ocean to the North Atlantic, pirate ships illustrate a fascinating global tapestry of maritime innovation. Finally, consider this. Every ship tells a story of people confronting the vast, unpredictable sea. Every design choice, from hull shape to sail configuration, from cargo storage to crew layout, reflects a deep understanding of both human and environmental limitations. By studying these ships, we gain insight not only into the past, but also into the timeless principles of adaptation, strategy, and resilience. We see how necessity drives creativity, how challenges inspire innovation, and how a single vessel can embody the spirit of an entire culture. So next time you picture a pirate ship, remember that the reality was far more intricate, diverse, and brilliant than any Hollywood depiction. Each ship had its own personality, its own strategy, and its own story to tell. And in uncovering these 5 surprising differences, we glimpse the extraordinary range of human ingenuity that piracy represents. If you've enjoyed exploring these remarkable vessels with me, don't forget to subscribe and join the adventure. We've only scratched the surface of the high seas. And there are countless more stories waiting to be told.